Okay.
Luigi, you have to admit Zita.
Just doing. No, she's inside. Okay. Okay, we can start. It's our first workshop on food donation barriers, and which is according to our project ESF, Food for Inclusion, and we have the first welcoming sessions. The welcoming session made by our Secretary General, Miss Floriana Cimarusti. Floriana, the floor is yours.
So, good morning, everybody.
Certo, non è che dici.
Sorry, Iris,
quello...
Iris.
Però
please.
di fatto è un'opzione.
Aspetta che devo...
It's muted.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Luigi. So, good morning, everybody. My name is Floriana Cimarusti. I'm the Secretary General of Safe Food Advocacy Europe. I'm very glad to have all of you here with us today. And I will say that SAFE has been involved in food waste action from several years. And I think I would like to say a few words on what we have done in the past to understand what we're doing now and why we did this in the past and we're doing something different now. So our first campaign on food waste was called One Man Waste is Another Man Treasure. And actually, we did this campaign for 4 years in Belgium, mainly in Belgium, but this has been imitated in other member states because it was a very successful project. And actually, we noticed how much food waste was mainly distributed and begin food donation only in big supermarket. I will say a big chain supermarket, they had a way to give their food waste that begin their food donation. However, it didn't happen in small shops, so small supermarket, small bakery, etc., and all their food waste was thrown away. So when we realized this, we organized in Brussels several small shops, small supermarkets, small bakery, etc. So we went to take their food waste and we give those food in food donation to immigrants, people in needs, and it was a very successful project in that period, and it went really well. And I was very surprised. I started myself, and then after I have several people in the office to help us. But the first day we started with this project, I decided to go myself in a bakery, and I realized that we took 80 kilos of bread in one day. It means that 80 kilo bread were going to be thrown away in one day in a bakery that honestly was not that large. So within this project, we could reduce food waste and we give food donation to people in needs. We have done this through the operating grant from the Project Life. So was DG Environment in the European Commission who give us funding through an operating grant for those 4 years. Then we could continue with the DG Environment with Life, but we've been lucky because in the same year we received 2 operating grants, so one from Life and one from ESF, the European Social Funds. And we decided to accept European Social Funds. So we completed a change project through the Food for Inclusion is the one we are doing with most of you, and the one we are working on. Between Food for Inclusion, as most of you know, there is the Healthy Meal, which is a project with the restaurant. And then there is, which is a project which we live a lot. And then there is all the part of food literacy for kids and for teenagers and all our lobbying activities among the ESF project. And food for barriers, so food donation barriers for us, it's a very important issue, because when you organize food waste and you organize food donation, if you have barriers, you cannot do it. So with our food donation project among the Food for Inclusion, we distribute food thanks to one of our partners that help us to have a lot of food coming from big supermarket this time, which is food which could be, sorry, somebody has the microphone on, could you please turn it off? Thank you. And so we take this food and we transform in food donation, and we give again to people in needs. But this time it's this food, this time is coming through a big supermarket chain, not the small one. And we take and we give to several charity around, not only Brussels, I will say, around Belgium. So let's go ahead on this workshop. Let's try to find proposal and solution to propose at European Commission, because we believe European Commission should have a legislation to help us food donation barriers all over the EU. Because if you want to do food donation, somebody put the barriers on it, then you cannot have food donation, which actually it's fundamental about with the increasing of poverty and the situation we are in today with the war and all the rest, where food donation are fundamental for many, many families to go ahead and to eat a decent meal every day. So I hope with this workshop we have some proposal to bring to European Commission, thanks to the work of all of you. We have very interesting speaker today, so I will leave the floor to Luigi Tozzi, who go ahead with the presentation. And thank you again to all of you to be with us today.
Thank you, Floriana, for your welcome to everybody. And so we can start our workshop in the main part. We have two sessions, one with two presentations, one from Italy, from Ms. Laura Rossi. She is the scientific head of the National Observatory on Italian Food Waste, and the second one be done by our member Anastasia Chapalovou, sorry for my speech. She's the director of the Union Working Consumer on Greece, EGE. She will give us the news about the food donation in Greece. After that, there will be a little my presentation. I will talk about the context that we have now in Europe after the COVID and during this stupid Ukrainian war. And the last sessions will be the Q&A session, where we can ask to the speakers more information, and then we can talk about food barriers in our country. So I leave the floor now to Laura, which is her presentation, and I thank you again, everybody.
Thank you very much to all of you for this space and this moment. My presentation will be on a story of success, let's say. Should I manage to do the sharing? Okay, you should see the presentation. I'm saying, as I'm saying, I'm talking about a story of success. Because in the framework of the action of the Observatory on Food Losses and Waste, we analyze in particular the role of primary sector surplus quantities donated to the most in need. The donation in Italy are strictly related with food waste activities because traditionally the action on food waste were specifically related to the permanent table of the fight against food waste and food assistance. What it is called the legge Gadda, I mean the law that is regulating the actions at a national level in terms of food waste prevention and reduction, are strictly related with the foods that is redistributed along the whole food supply chain, in particular to the charitable organization. The table is coordinated by the Ministry of Agriculture, and its main activity is exactly the redistribution of the agricultural surplus to the poorest. The table is a complex entities that cover all the production line from the primary sector to the distribution, retail distribution, catering, industry, and in particular included the most active and most relevant charitable organizations that work at the national level, because the main focus of Italian table to fight against food waste is the redistribution of the excess of production to the poorest, as I mentioned. The table is organized in working group. The working groups are listed in this slide. We have consumer behavior, information, also considering the role of labeling in the food waste prevention, measurement of losses at the level of primary production, either for plant products and product of animal origin. Measurement of losses at the level of primary production, with a particular focus on fisheries, because there is a strong interest in the redistribution of foods of high nutritional values, such as fish. Local policies and regional best practices, and then, as I mentioned, an important activity of the table is related to donation in terms of measurements, policies, impact assessment, and also the impact of redistribution on food waste indicators. I am the coordinator of the observatory that in Italy is not only observatory on the food losses and waste, but you could see from the name of the observatory the importance that is point out in the issue of recovery and reuse of food, following the food redistribution hierarchy that is not only a matter of quantification of food waste, but is also a matter of quantification of the redistribution of food losses and waste. The main objective of the observatory is to create in Italy a monitoring tool for collection and disseminate information and statistics to provide the policy and the best practice related in particular to the avoid and reduce and redistributed surpluses along the food chain, to permit the food recovery and the reuse of food for human consumption, to monitor and to evaluate food waste at household level. All this information could be found in publication, scientific publication on the journals, on the scientific journal. In particular, I'm pointing this one that is a summary of the actions and also the programmatic idea of the action of the observatory at the national level, in which you could see that the issue of the redistribution of excess is continuously referred in the activities of the observatory. In terms of the action undertaken, in terms of the products that we produced, every year we produced a report that is in Italian, but each report has an executive summary in English and a graphical abstract also in English. All these are present in our website. You could see the web address at the end of the slides. What we talk today is in particular the action that we carried out in terms of the primary sector and the role of the primary sector in the redistribution of food to the people in need. With this activity, we particularly work on the primary sector, as I mentioned it. The quantity of food that is not harvested, grown and not harvested in the 2017 was 3%, with differences between the different products. A little bit more for the vegetable cultivation, respect to fruit. There is this data every year have fluctuate because it depending from external factors such as raining or pest, etc. So there is a changing on this number across the years. What is interesting is the importance of the roles of the producer organization to collect the unsold product for social purposes. In particular, what we found from this the data analysis that we carried out, that it is that if the farming companies will aggregate in cooperatives in what is called at the national level producers organization, this would create a competitive advantages in preventing the criticalities of generated by the food surplus, and it is important in terms of food waste prevention. We have an incentive systems that promote the fact that the majority of the food that is collected, the unsold food that is collected, is redistributed for human nutrition. The very large part, 82% of the unsold products are redistributed for human nutrition. The producer organizations has this strong potentiality for the redistribution. Actually, it is something that is not completely known at national level, and only the 27% of the producer organization take advantage of this system, having also positive economic results with the optimization of the recycling system. It means that the system is in place, has a great impact, but could have more impact than it is done up to now. In terms of surplus rate, there is the waste or the losses at the level of the producer organization is only 3%, and there are some crops for that there is not completely surplus at all. It depends from the products. It depends from several other aspects, in particular the difficulties in finding space in the market, the issue of the product appearances and shape, because consumers are used to find a certain product with a certain appearance and shape, and tend to not choose things that appear a little bit different, foods that appear a little bit different, and in general weather condition or market contingencies. The most important results of this action is that the large part, as I mentioned, large part of the food surplus was given to people, was given to the donation organization, and it was avoided as much as possible the disposal to the landfill. That is the most impacting in terms of food waste consequences. This is strongly in line, as I mentioned, with the food recovery hierarchy, in which we saw that the OP system show a prevention in capacity of prevention in food losses and waste, in particular because there is a large quantity of food that is donated to the poor through the food banks or to the charitable organization that work on the ground, and very few part of the food is used for animal feeding or for industrial use, and practically the use of the landfill, that is a cost for the production, for the producer, and it is a cost also for the community, is something that is used in very few, is practically not used. And as I mentioned, the issue of the strong propensity to the donation is strongly evident from the data collected in this study. You could find all this information in our official website, in the CREA page of the observatory. We are updating our social media pages. You could find the Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter that is also in English, in which we try to update the people that follow on this website. And I'm thanking you for your attention, and I'm fully open for questions after.
Many thanks, Laura. It was very, very interesting, your presentation. I think that's something that we can take from your presentation, is that if we think about the Italian case study, we have to say to the Commission to help farmers to make this kind of producers organization better, and to help them to combat against the food waste. Yes, the 27% just of them which take advantage is not so high, but it means that anyway there is an advantage to do it, and maybe the Commission should pay attention to this input that we can give her. Now we go ahead. I will give now the floor to Anastasia from ECHE. She will explain us everything about Greece, I think. And so the food donation and the problem of poverty in Greece, that I think was one of the country that in the last years had more problem than other in our European Union. So, Anastasia, the floor is yours. I shut up immediately, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Luigi. Okay. I hope you can see my screen now. I will present you food donation and disadvantages areas in Greece. But first of all, I would like to present you our organization in order to understand why we connect with this action. Union of Working Consumers of Greece is a consumer union which was established in 2009 by the initiative of leading cadres of General Confederation of Greek Workers. The aim of our organization is to raise consumer awareness, to educate consumers on their rights and obligations, to protect them against abusive and speculative practices, and manage complaints or implement collective actions. We created a nationwide network with 59 local branches in 59 cities all over Greece, directed by managing committees of 5 branch members. And we represent consumers in several national committees or European NGOs such as Safe Food Advocacy. But I would like to introduce you our operational activities, and especially, as I mentioned earlier, we established in 2009.
Anastasia, excuse me,
yes?
Excuse me.
Yes?
All those things are written in your presentation.
Yes.
Okay, you have to scroll on the presentation, otherwise we don't see all your echo. Now we see. Now, okay, you can open us. Okay, let's go on. Let's go on. Now? Thank you. Yes. Okay. But you have to scroll.
Okay, I scroll it, but I think now it is.
No. Okay, yes. Now, so we can see. Okay, thank you. Sorry, yeah.
Thank you for mentioning this. Okay, I would like, so when we started in 2009, as you remember, in 2010, we had the list of operational activities until now, but on 2010, the first memorandum was manifested in Greece. So we concentrated on educational programs, managing banking issues, debt settlement, thematic workshops, and social solidarity actions. Why? As you can see, the percentage of Greek population living at poverty levels in Greece from 2005 till 2020 increases from 2010 until 2014, when it has a downward slope till today. Which are the most disadvantaged people? They are in 55%, they are foreigners out of 28 EU countries residing in Greece. 52.5% are foreigners living in Greece. 37% are foreigners of 28 EU countries residing in Greece. And 27% are Greek citizens. Which are the most problematic regions in Greece. According to Hellenic Statistical Authority, Eastern Macedonia, Thrace, and Western Macedonia and Western Greece are at risk of poverty, are the regions more at risk of poverty. We checked our structures in Greece and how they act concerning food donation. First of all, the first structure is Hellenic Republic Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs, which operates on a regulatory level and organizes the distribution of food donation all over Greece. How this is implemented? First of all, we checked, we have social structure for immediate poverty eradication. It's a network of social structures which is concentrated to homeless and people living at or below the poverty line. They offer social solidarity actions, among others, soup kitchen and social groceries. Another structure of the Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs is school meals. School meals are implemented since 2017. Today, 1,300 primary schools throughout Greece and about 185 pupils are receiving food donations, are receiving school meals all over Greece. The aim is the socialization of pupils, preventing school dropouts, development of healthy eating habits based on Mediterranean diet. The next structure is FED, the Greek Fund for European Aid to the Most Deprived. This program supports the distribution of food and basic material in approximately 279,000 beneficiaries in accordance with the support of accompanying measures that contribute to the social integration of the beneficiaries and are implemented across the country. The operational program is implemented through social partnership. And in some social partnerships in Greece, which is located in several regions, in 5 big regions of Greece, EEKE is social partner and offers accompanying measures to beneficiaries. Another additional structure is municipal and prefectural organization. What do they offer? They offer social groceries, food kitchens, urban fields. They receive individual and corporate donations in kind that are distributed free of charge to local citizens, families, municipal solidarity structures, etc. An additional structure is Hellenic Orthodox, an additional structure is church organization. Hellenic Orthodox Church, Catholic and other religious denominations throughout Greece provide a wide variety of services for food products to disadvantaged citizens. What do they provide? Basic food, grocery items and food kitchens. They are distributed to volunteer work. They receive corporate donation and individual donation in kind. And beneficiaries are families in a local level and other relevant people in need. The food bank, the Greek food bank, equal member of the European Federation of Food Banks, which the main scope is to ending hunger and reducing food waste. The donations are distributed to a relative volunteer network free of charge, and they receive donations from individuals and corporate donation in kind, and they distribute it to other network or NGOs, nursing homes, organizations, etc. Of course, NGOs in Greece, we have numerous NGOs and social economy organizations which provide food products such as social groceries, food kitchens and urban fields. They receive corporate donations once more and individual donations in kind, and they support families in a local level, other organizations, relevant collectives, etc. And last is an unstructured, the last structure is an unstructured local solidarity network in Greece, which is numerous local solidarity individuals throughout Greece, which provide variety wide variety of services. It is clan-based solidarity network. It is based on food and chains or food in general, and donations are from individuals or clan members who support relative individuals or families. Families and individuals in a local level are the beneficiaries. I hope I gave you a comprehensive picture of food donation in Greece. Corporate companies are offering food in many different structures in Greece. And I am at your disposal for any information on any other question. Thank you very much for your attention.
Many thanks, Anastasia. Some data are very shocking, and but I see that there is not such a one kind of the network, solidarity network. There are a lot of. This is very important because you know there is it's not just the government that do something, but or official charities like Caritas, FEBA, and so on, but also people, and this is very important. And I think that. It is something that we can discuss after in our section of Q&A. So, thank you. Now it's my time. I have to show you my presentation. I do it immediately. Just a little. Okay, I think that you can see it. Is it? You can see it? Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So let's go on. So I will talk about you the food donation in Europe after the COVID crisis and during this war in Ukraine, which are some problems and prospects. I will use most data taken by the FEBA, the Food Donation Bank, European Food Bank. Just one slide about SAFE. We are an independent and non-profit organization represents the interests of European consumers over Europe. Our mission is to protect and advance consumers' rights in EU food policy, and activities and goals were explained by our Secretary General at the when we start this workshop. So let's go on. About the last data that we have, of course, are data of last year, the 2021, are shocking data. One of five inhabitants of European Union is at risk of poverty or social exclusion. This means that 95.4 million people, that represents the about 27% of the European population, live in a family in difficulty or not in the brink of poverty. That means that also about 74 million are at risk of poverty, and 27 million severely materially and socially disadvantaged. Among these, the total of the 95.4 million people, about 29.3 million live in a low work intensity household. In the European Union, an estimated 20% of the total food produced is lost or wasted, while globally it reaches almost 1/3. This is something that is very interesting anyway. There are people who are poor, and we lost or waste our food. My God. I'm sorry. Are you still seeing my presentation?
Yes, but not in presentation mode.
No, sorry. I don't know what had happened. I too. And now?
Yeah, now we can.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I don't know. Sometimes the Microsoft doesn't work as we wish. So in the European Union, around 88 million tons of food are wasted, and 11 million tons came from food services. And of these 88 million tons are from 11 are from the food services, and the 5%, so 5 million tons comes from wholesale and retail. This is our fusion project data. Fusion project is a Horizon project, a very famous Horizon project that which one of the aim of this project is to have a real realistic idea about the food waste and food loss. But let's go on about talking about the food redistribution about in the last year. What is a food redistribution? It consists of redirect food surplus for human consumption through donation to food banks, food charities, or redistribution organization. The most important redistribution organization is, as you know, the European Food Bank Federation, which have 24 full members and 6 associate members in about 30 European countries. I've taken the data from their database, of course, to have these to make this presentation. Last year, the 340 these 41 food banks redistributed a lot of tons, and they redistributed it to about 5,000, 6,000 charitable organizations. And they providing food assistance to 11 million post people, deprived people, of course. And it was thanks to the professionals of the co-workers. And the most important things of this data is that the 83% are volunteers, and it is very important to remind. In addition to surplus food from the food supply chain, the FEBA members redistribute food from all the European measures that are already in place, so they don't take just the food or only to make this redistribution just by the food donations, food donors, but also using European the European project or programs that are already in place, like something that Anastasia mentioned before, the Fund for European Aid to the Most Private, the FED, and the European Fruits and Vegetable Withdrawal Scheme. Now we are going to talk about this last year. We have some data, of course, not complete because the year is not end, but we have taken those data anyway from FEBA. And we are going to talk about now the context. Donation and the redistribution of food has been deeply affected by the Ukraine crisis, but in a very different way in Europe. In the Eastern Europe, there's been an increase in donation. Maybe it was a real high response to the war in Ukraine, supported the refugees, but there was a decrease in Western Europe, and this is important. You know, what if you have less food donation, you can help less people, and this is very important to take in consideration. In addition, way to the war in Ukraine, the first half of this year was anyway also deeply affected by the COVID pandemic, and also for some radical climate and environmental changes. And I want just to focus a little bit on this, what happened when there are the climatic and environmental changes. Just with two little pictures. I show here what happened in the last 5 years in the market of futures, and in particular, this is for the durum wheat. Oh, sorry. As you can see, during these last 5 years, until the July or January of 21, there was not such an increase of the price of the durum wheat. But in 21, it was a very high increase of this problem of the durum wheat price, and this is because there was a very dry period in Canada, which is one of the most important export countries of this durum wheat, and the great part of the wheat produced in Canada was destroyed by this dry period, and that's why the prices has become in this way. After that, you can see that there was anyway a decrease, even if there was the war during the January and July of this year, and that because the war in Ukraine doesn't really have a meaning. Sorry for the dry for durum wheat, because Ukraine doesn't export really the durum wheat. But if we see the same thing for the soft wheat, we see another kind of distribution. Yes, there was a problem during the price was completely not so high, not during the 5 years, but it was a very high increase before starting the war, from December to January, and then there was something very high in the period of the crisis, the war. Even if we can see that the price is decreasing because of the agreement that was made in the last month of this year between Ukrainians and Russians to export the software. All those things, anyway, are I've taken just the wheat as an example because wheat is always used by making everything, all the bakeries, for example. But I don't want to talk about, of course, about wheat, the bread, but everything is affected anyway by those things. And those things, those increasing, decreasing of the price affect, of course, the principal materials and foods that people, especially the poor people, has to buy. So let's go on again with the food redistribution. In the last year, there was anyway an increase in the amount of food requested by charities. More than 80% were identified as families with children, single parents, elderly people, and refugees from Ukraine, of course. And this is the situation. So we can see that there are climate problems, climate change problems that are directly involved with the price of the food, and the amount people, the poor people, is increasing. So the food donation are going to be less than the other years, because it needs to eat by themselves, and this is the situation now in this year. In all those things, I try to give you just some idea of food donation barriers that we have found during the last 5 years, but they are still here, and we can, as I say, we can say that are other barriers. One of these is the reliability of donors, so the food safety. When the donated food is still required to meet compulsory standard, this could drive donors to discard surplus food in order to avoid risk associated with the liability for donated food. And the risk also is that it may cause prospective donors to discard the edible food instead of starting a food donation procedure. It is not valid in the same way in all over Europe, but of course, this is something that we have found. Another kind is the confusion of data labeling of food products. This is very well known by the Commission. I think that also you know the problem of the data marks and food products, the used by the best before. And so the good part of people doesn't understand the use of these data marks, and so they are not encouraged for food donation, and they discard the food instead to donate it. There are also logistic challenges for the little donor chain, the lack of funds of the organization logistic is considered one of the most limiting factors in food redistribution, according to the European Economic and Social Committee speech. Firstly, because donors need to spare resources to store the food before delivery. Storage could be costly, especially for high perishable food. Secondly, the transportation of donated food can encounter issues related to cost and human resources and general logistics. And often, the organization may now have the financial and human capacity to overcome the logistic challenges in transportation, worse in case of large quantities. And thirdly, the donated food is usually close to the expiry of the best before date, and this is something that is very important to remember. The donors use this kind of donation to give the problem of discarding the food to the charities organizations. So they keep the food donation just 1 or 2 days before the expiry, the best before date, and when those products arrive to the charities, they have to use it immediately, and not, for example, after 1 week when they may need it. So this is a very important problem, and it's a way to use the food donation to resolve all the problems. Last but not least, the lack of tax incentives for the food donation, and there is also high operating costs, and the food business have now little incentive to donate surplus, and so it should be useful to offer fiscal incentives to food donors to donate the food. So this was my last slide. Thank you for your attention, and I stop. I will close my. I think now that you can see me. Can you see me now?
We can hear you.
Okay, that's wonderful. You can see and you can hear me. So now we can go with the last part of this workshop. As you have seen, we had 2 very important presentations from Italy, from Greece. The mine is not such important, of course, but you can anyway had some data about the crisis, and we can start the Q&A session. So if there is someone who wants to make some questions, about the presentation or talking about the food donation barriers that has in this country is welcome, of course. And so I give the floor to I'm waiting for your questions. If you want to make your questions, please put on your camera so we can see you and you can make the question. Laura?
No, I don't want to make a question up to now. But just to point out something that probably in my presentation I didn't stress it out enough, that the root, let's say, of the table for food waste is the assistance. So I mean that all the actions that were carried out in Italy at the level of the law GAD that was in 2016, that put a lot of pressure in terms of food losses and waste, were based on the activity of this table for food assistance. So there is this strict correlation between prevention of food losses and waste in Italy and redistribution, not only in terms of food, but also in terms of pharmaceutical products. So to say that the evolution of food losses and waste is related to distribution of food to the poor.
Many thanks, Laura. And we have to explain that the Italian law doesn't permit only to help the food donation, but also the other donation, like as you talked about, medicinal chemicals and also dress. And so it's a law that's more complete than other law that we have seen in the European Union. So this is important to remind also to our partner, people who is joining this workshop. I have just a question anyway to you, Laura. We have seen that just the 27% of the producers organization have an advantage to that to make food donation. I would like just to ask you why, in your opinion, this number is anyway good, you know? It's 1/3 about all the producer organization, but why is so less? Which are the problems that maybe they have to make it?
Thanks for this question, Luigi. It's there is a large discrepancy. There are some data that I didn't have time to show, but there is a large discrepancy of the organization of producers that are located in the Emilia-Romagna region, in the north part of Italy, respect to the south, in which the problem is a communication problem, an informative problem. People on the ground doesn't know that there is the possibility to access to funds for redistribution, and that these funds are facilitated by the fact that there will be this associative approach. So it's a problem from the south of Italy, in which the knowledge of the system, of the incentive system, and the associative attitude is less common and less known by the people that work on the field.
Thank you, Laura. So there are problems in Italy, and I would like just to hear from some of you that this kind of problem, this kind of organization that we have found in Italy is still present in your countries, for example, in Croatia or in Greece, or Lithuania and in the other countries, and if is it a way to organize in this way the farm producers, it's possible to do it in your countries, and so if the Italian way should be used also in your countries. This is also a question to everybody. I leave the floor who wants to answer. Maybe Anastasia, can you help me? Otherwise, I have a question to you, Anastasia. Yes?
Luigi, please repeat your question
Okay,
because my internet was unstable and I couldn't. I was just.
Okay.
I was ready to tell you this. Thank you.
It's a general. It's a question for everybody in this moment. But now I take the opportunity to ask you. You have seen now the Italian way how to reduce the food waste, fruit and vegetable, was to aggregate the farms in this kind of producers organization. Is it possible to do the same in Greece, or there is something that they are doing still now, doing, or anyway, is it possible? It's a way that should be used, and which are part of the government that you can that you have to ask.
Luigi, I have to search for it and I will reply to you soon. I'm not, I don't know everything, but I will search it. I will reply to you soon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, I think that maybe there is someone else that want to answer to Anna Maria. Thank you, from Croatia. You're closer to us, so.
Hello to all. I really like this your example of this organizations of producers. Here in Croatia, we don't have such similar initiative, and the quantities of donation that come directly for our producers is very small. We have, yes, we have a big problem with poverty in Croatia, but for now, we are resolving this problem ad hoc. We don't have even the food banks yet. They are in the process of organizing the first food banks, and in the next years, we'll have the first, I think, 7 food banks in Croatia. And this year, we start with a work team for the new legislative. Our organization is in the team. That will directly bring the new law for concerning this problem of food wasting, and how initiative how to overcome this problem and finally minimize these quantities. But yes, for now we need these good practice examples, and it was great to hear the example from Italy. I really like it.
Thank you, Anna Maria. And I think that the problem, of course, Italy is one of the highest now agriculture in Europe. So we have this producers organization. Well done. Is that they are not cooperatives, are really producers. Of course, there is with the cooperatives you can do the same thing. Okay, you can do the same thing, and then it should be useful in a way to show to them Croatian farmers how we do and in which way we organize. As I told you in my presentation, one of the problem is the logistic. Logistics very expensive, you know, especially now with the high prices of gasoline. And so it's another thing. So to have platform to redistribute, to take all the food lost, I'm talking about fruit and vegetables, it's not easy. So if you have a cooperative or a producers organization, you can do it, it's easy. And you can do also with the food bank. And because, for example, in Italy, but not in Italy, in all of Europe, but you told me that it is not your case. In Croatia, there is the food bank. They have platforms, so they can anyway manage better the food loss. So the logistics is something that we have anyway to consider. Also the organization of farmers, so the primary production. Does anybody want to give his opinion? Yes, Zita. Thank you, Zita. You have the floor. Turn up. Okay, the camera. Brava.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Lithuania is a small country, but indeed we are doing a lot of in the area of diminishing of food waste, and indeed every experience which we share, it's a good ideas to improve the situation. We have food bank, a very strong food bank. I think it's one of the strongest bank in European Union, which works quite effectively in Lithuania and covers all the country. And food bank works with main sellers of food. It's mainly large shops, and also they are producing their own food from leftovers, and indeed it's very effectively working in Lithuania, and it's quite known in our country. But of course, there are a lot of problems, like you already mentioned, logistics, also taxes, also liability. Mainly, I mean liability without fault. Who is liable after the product is donated to food bank? Indeed, just in our conversations, we touch this problem. I think sometimes we are not aware of this liability. Also, we have a lot of initiatives on municipalities level because they have programs on food on waste, including food waste, and very active in Lithuania is Ministry of Environment, which is responsible for indicators of food waste, for collection of indicators, for elaborating indicators also, and the Ministry of Agriculture somehow is involved in this process because of agricultural production. Therefore, I think Lithuania is doing quite a lot now but of course there are some space of improvement. Thank you.
Thank you, Zita, for your comment and the data that you shared with us. I see that Floriana wants to say something. Thank you, Floriana.
Thank you, Zita. It's interesting to hear you. And I think you touched something very important, liabilities. Liabilities is such a big issue. We realized when we were trying to cooperate and bring our project, One Man Waste is Another Man Treasure, that we were doing in Belgium, in country like France, like Spain, we had difficulties concerning liability. So liability somehow they block a lot of food donation possibilities because it's very stressful for somebody who is organizing already find the logistic to take the food, to give the food, etc. And then to be in a problem of high responsibility, because of course, if I give you a yogurt and you take this yogurt and you leave it out of the refrigerator for 2 weeks and then you eat it, of course you're going to be sick because it was not in the right place. But in the moment I give you the yogurt was very safe, I will say. But because of the way it was used at the moment, I give you to a charity, and then this charity, instead of taking care of all the food safe is given to them, it doesn't put all this food in the refrigerator, but leave it outside. And then 2 weeks later, some people is eating this yogurt. Of course, it can be a serious issue, and you can have legal responsibility. So for this, safe being in the middle of supermarket and the consumers or the charity to get the food is very careful about liabilities, because in the moment we give the food to the charity and we know for sure that everything is fine from that moment on, it's their responsibility to keep the food at the right temperature in the refrigerator and not to use the food too later, etc., too late. So all those things is very important and can be serious barriers. That's why at EU level we need something, we need the legislation who can cover all the issue of responsibility. Thank you, Luigi. It was just a point that I like to make.
Thank you, Floriana. We have to anyway to remember that there are the food law that are very recently about the responsibility about it in Italy, but I think that wherever you go, you can see that there are guidelines anyway given to the food donation. I'm sure for Italy, I can talk about all over Europe, but there are food donation rules, guidelines to receive products and to give the products to the poor people. There is anyway Anna da Grazia from Greece again that wants to tell us something. Thank you, Anna.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. In addition to Floriana, I would like to mention another barrier in the food donation system. Citizens that want to donate food, for example, after a surplus food deriving from a party or from a wedding, don't know how to store their food until a solution is being found. I mean, if I have a cake, how do I use this cake? Well, what do I do? Do it put it in a refrigerator? And in addition, they don't know who to contact in order to give it to the people in need. The initiatives that very correctly Mr. Hadjipablou mentioned in Greece don't have a lot of visibility, and people don't have solutions in their hand in order to donate their food. Thank you.
Yes, anyway, the ability is a very high problem. Maybe as I told, okay, in Italy we have done it according to the Ministry of Health and the food bank, the Italian Food Bank, and Caritas and the other charity organizations have done it. But I think that maybe we have to see if it is the same in other countries, and we can say to the Commission way to give a sort of guidelines for all the European governments to make this, so the donation should be easier for everybody. I would like just to ask if there are any other comments. I would like just to ask to Anastasia something about the local solidarity network. I'm very interested about it. I would like just to know something more about it. How does it works, this network, and also the municipalities?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. As far as it concerns municipalities, we have in municipalities we have social groceries, social kitchen. How do they work? They receive donations from local producers, from corporates, or from individuals. For example, when a problem arises in a municipality, through schools, parents are informed that there is a need to donate food to our social grocery or to a main scope. For example, when we have a war or in another country or something else, then the organization of parents inform all the members at school and collect the food. The food is going now will be donated from each school to the social grocery of municipality, and the municipality will use it for his scope, for poor families in local level, or as I mentioned earlier, for main purposes, urgent purposes, for example. As far as it concerns clan-based network that I mentioned, it is in Greek. Let me say, it is a Greek. Let me find it. Mindset, let's say, that we exchange food with our neighbors or relatives. And in Greece, family has strong families until now has strong connections. When a member or a relative has a problem, all or some relatives are informed and help the family which is which has really a problem. So it is in Greek. This is in Greek mindset, and it is something that we cannot count. In Greece, sometimes we say no food left in a family base because we will, let's say, exchange it with our parents, our sisters, or relatives, or a neighbor. It is something very common. That is the unstructured social network, or in a neighbor base, not only clan-based, in a neighbor base. This is an unstructured local network that we cannot count because we don't have numbers to count it. Is it more clear for you now, Luigi?
Yes, true. And it was incredible, and I think that we never can count it really, but it's very important that anyway these things are going on, and I think that the heart of people is always bigger than the situation where we are. Okay.
So I would like also to add that municipalities receive donates, as I told you, with this way from citizens, but also receive donates from corporates. And I didn't have a separate slide for corporates because in all slides we were mentioned that they offer food in kind in different structures, and they have the logistics, the way to share it to structures that will share this food to their members. most of the times they share these, they make food donations to structures, but corporates also, maybe they will give gift cards with the total, with an amount, small or big, to people that have problems, and then we can go to supermarket to buy food for example, for 30 euros, for 50 euros. It is something like this. I hope I gave you a better picture now. Thank you.
Larry, if I get in the middle, Luigi, Anastasia, I just would like to thank you so much for this, because it's very interesting to listen to Anastasia when she explains us, and you see all the warm generosity of Greece people and how much there is this relation between family and helping each other, etc., which is the basic actually of food donation. However, I noticed that in 2 minutes we need to close, Luigi.
Yeah.
I think we only
So
have 2
the
minutes.
closing remarks is something that you have to do, of course.
Yes.
So the floor is yours. You have
Yes.
just taken, but okay, let's go.
Yeah, I took it
Thank
because
you.
I see it's only 2 minutes. So I just would like to thank Laura Rossi, to thank Anastasia, to thank you, Luigi, to organize this workshop. And I think it was very interesting to listen all of you. I must say I was very impressed by the solidarity Anastasia was explaining to us. I mean, I know Greece, I know I have a lot of Greek friends, but I think the way it's done, I will say sometimes very simple way, and the way family interact with each other and the kids at school, etc. I think it's a very good to hear it. I think makes our heart warmer, I will say. So it was very nice. Listen to the explanation on what practically is happened, and still my wish is to continue safe working with European institutions and to try to improve certain barriers for food donation, because now with increasing on poverty, I think is basic that we do improve this, to do in a way that I would not hear anymore, no, sorry, for barrier reason we couldn't do it. We have to find a way to do it in each member states, viewing all the difficulties of logistic, of having volunteered all the rest. We need really to find a solution and to do in a way for the future that those barriers will be less and less. And at SAVE, we will continue lobbying on this, and we will keep you updated on our last position on food donation. Thanks to the cooperation with all our members, we will try really to improve the situation at EU level, which can be beneficial to all of us. So thank you so much to all of you to be with us, and I wish you to see you soon in Brussels. So please, whenever you have the opportunity, it would be great to see you in person at our office in Brussels. Thank you so much.
Thank you again to all people, Laura and Anastasia, and to everybody who has made all the questions and participated to our debate. And so I just want to remember you about the 15th of December, when we have a webinar, and it's talking about not only about the food donation course, but which is very important, and is in our ESF plus project Food for Inclusion. So, yeah, according to that. So thank you again, and I see you, and bye-bye. Thank you.
Ciao, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Laura.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Ciao,
you very
Laura.
much. It was a
Thanks a
pleasure.
lot.
Ciao,
Bye.
Floriana.
Ciao, ciao, bye.
Ciao. See you next time.
Ciao, Anna.